This video is going to go over how to multiply complex numbers. The first thing you need to know is that a complex number is a number that is made up of a real number, like 3, plus or minus an imaginary number, like 4i. And so if I'm multiplying two binomials, meaning there's two terms in each set, that are complex numbers, one thing that is going to occur that you need to be aware of is that you must know that I squared is equal to -1, because just I alone is equal to the square root of -1. And so if we were to square the square root of -1, then we're just left with -1. So when I go to multiply this, I'm going to do 3 times -2. That would give me -6. 3 times -i would give me -3i. 4i times -2 is -8i. And then 4i times -i is -4i squared. So as you can see, this multiplies out the same way that it would be if I was a variable like x. The difference is that I is really in place of the number, the square root of -1. So we know its value. But here, what's going to happen is that I can combine these. We leave I, we don't change it back to square root of -1. I can combine those like terms to be -11i, but I can replace the I squared with -1 since it's back to being a real number at that spot. So when it's still an imaginary number, we keep it as I, but when it becomes I squared, it's back to being a real number of -1. And so now I can multiply the -4 times the -1 to give me +4, and I can just drop all this other stuff back down. And then I can combine my real numbers, and that would give me -2 minus 11i as my final answer. And so we typically, in these types of problems, write our real numbers in front of our imaginary numbers, but most people would accept the answer either way. All right, let's try another one. So maybe I have 5 minus 2i times 3 plus 4i. All right, so I'm going to distribute like I would normally, or FOIL. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4i is 20i. -2i times 3 is -6i. And then -2 times 4i becomes -8i squared. So very similar to just distributing binomials as if it was an x. The thing that changes here, again, is that this I can be replaced with -1. This I squared is the same thing as that. So I can substitute it in, and then I can combine my middle terms to make 14i, and I can drop down my 15. So -8 times -1 is a +8. Drop everything else back down. And then I can combine my constants to be 23. And then I just tack on the 14i at the end. And my final answer is 23 plus 14i. Hope this helps.